That's the thing with Josema. The amount of times he went down injured, and the fact he actually got 92 caps for Uruguay. You know why that is? Because mostly he's able to be back fit for Uruguay a lot of the time, and possibly to his own detriment. Maybe too early. And when you look at Josema, I remember 2013 qualifier against Colombia. He marked Falcao out of game. Falcao being at the top of his game back then. He was 18 years of age back then. He played against Sturridge and Rooney at the World Cup in 2014 when Sturridge was on fire. Did an incredible job on him. If you have that level of talent, that type of character, and you have no injuries or not a lot, you're talking about someone who is regarded as one of the best defenders in the 21st century. I really believe that. Maybe it seems like a hyperbole, but I actually do believe that. But yeah, if you are injured every, let's say, 3-4 months, it's so hard to actually be able to be on top of your game and also get better. Because how can you get better when you're injured like every 4 or 5 months for the last 6-7 years? And that's just a shame.
Yeah, especially at center back because I think routine and consistency is so important. And I don't want to always relate this back to the United States, but like we have, for example, Christian Pulisic, who is our star player, right? By far the best player. And the October national team camp, we played against Mexico. So the biggest match for the United States. It was only a Nations League fixture for us, but still a huge fixture. And Christian Pulisic did not travel with the squad because he felt a little bit of a muscular strain and decided to return to Milan to not get injured. Now I relate that back to Jose Jimenez, which is the complete opposite. We're talking about a player who bleeds for the national team, who will go through anything to play for the national team, whether it's a friendly fixture or not. I mean, imagine Jimenez returning to Atleti because he felt a little bit of strain in his muscle before a match against Brazil or Argentina. It's not in the nation's DNA to do that. The fans will never want him to play for the national team again if he decided to do that, I feel like. And I think that goes back to, again, what makes Uruguay special. Players have pride and they feel true passion for the national team, whether it's a friendly or whether it's a World Cup final. It's played in the exact same manner.
They mentioned this Garra Charrua and Grinta are not just empty words. These Uruguayans really feel the passion for football for the national team. I think the number of caps for Jose Jimenez, I remember doing a post a few years ago about 23-year-olds with the most caps for the national teams, and Josema was one of the top three players. So he already had like 40 games at the age of 23, I think. And it's funny, David, that you mentioned Falcao. I remember the anecdote of Radamel Falcao when Colombia was facing Uruguay. Jose Jimenez was marking Falcao during a corner kick, and you know Falcao, he was a killer, he was a monster in the penalty area. Nothing could distract him. And he mentioned that Jose came to him and asked him, "Why does the Colombian flag has three colors on it?" Falcao said that he was so incredibly distracted. Like this question was so stupid and ridiculous that then actually he was out for a few seconds. You can say that it was a stupid question, but it was also a really clever one from Josema.
Yeah, I remember that story. Yeah, I remember reading that how we like taunted Falcao all game and actually just breaking his concentration completely. Yeah, well, that was a fun story actually. But yeah, I mean, Josema, he's probably one of the big players of Uruguayan football in the last 20 years, I would say. But also it leaves you like with a little bit of a sour taste, bittersweet taste, because what could have been. Having said that, he's 28, 29, and he is actually this season. Jacek, I'm pretty sure this is the case, but this season when it comes to injuries, it's one of his best seasons so far. He's not missed a lot of games. So hopefully he's been able to improve right now and be more reliable in terms of availability, because it can happen. I mean, Robin, for example, he's had a lot of injuries throughout his career, but later on in his career, I recall that he actually was a little bit more reliable in terms of availability. So maybe this is the case with Josema as well. Would be great.
I tell you, David, this season I watched every single Atletico game, and in some of these games, Josema was purely world class. And yeah, Atletico right now we're having all kinds of problems, and if Josema will be out, it will get even worse. So I think the thing that we should respect a lot is that despite all these injuries, Josema Jimenez will end his career as a Uruguayan and Atletico legend, without any doubt.
Yeah, an absolute rarity also in modern football, I would say, to be a club and country legend.
David, do you think that Josema Jimenez had more potential, well, had the potential to make a bigger career than Diego Godin? In your honest opinion?
It's a good question. A really good question because obviously they're always compared. I mean, Godin was kind of the master, and Josema the apprentice. But I actually think he could because he is quicker, more explosive, more physical, more imposing. So that's I remember him having really good games against Lewandowski, for example, really marking him out of the game because he was quick to everything. And Godin obviously relied more on his tactical knowledge, his know-how, being able to read the game, cut out danger, but not overcommitting himself because that would be a problem for him. I mean, I remember him being sprinted by Suarez, so outsprinted by Suarez during Atletico Barcelona game. While Suarez was never the quickest, but at that moment he wasn't at all. So Josema had more physical capabilities, I think, than Godin, and I think therefore he probably could have overtaken him in terms of his career achievements. But so far it's not the case because Godin obviously more longevity, more available in terms of when it comes to injuries. But yeah, it's interesting and quite a bit. It's entertaining to compare how their careers have been and how perhaps Josema could have been better. But it's a hard one, I guess. But if I have to answer, I say yeah, Josema could have become a bigger, a more accomplished player than Godin.
Agree. I honestly agree, even though like Godin is an exemplar player for me. Like he was the leader on the pitch, humble outside the pitch, like a great example for so many defenders or footballers. But I agree that Josema had slightly more potential. He was faster, he was better on the ball. I remember him playing at the youth level, even as a defensive midfielder, thanks to his ball skills. So yeah, it's a real shame that all those injuries came for Josema, because Godin, one of the strengths of Godin was his consistency. He was always there, like he was playing every game, so he was injury free. So a shame, but still Josema is only 29, so he has like at least 5 6 years of playing at a top level, and with being Uruguayan and knowing the longevity of Uruguayan players, maybe even more.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, obviously Jose Ma is a little bit more reliant on his physical attributes than Godin, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Jose Ma has already been at his peak or is currently in his peak. I think we see so many center backs, like Van Dijk is a great example, who peak when they get up to 32, 33, 34. So I don't even think this debate is fully closed yet, and maybe we still see Jose Ma overtake Godin for the peak talent.